My name is Tom Ganley. I'm a businessman from northern Ohio, northeastern Ohio. I've reached a point of frustration with what's happening in Washington, and I've decided to do something about it. I'm all about creating jobs. As a businessman, I started my company April 1st, 1968 with 12 people. Today we're on either side of 1,000 people. I've created all those jobs in the private sector that pay taxes as opposed to the public sector that costs taxes.
From the auto perspective, when did you first get some indications that something was going wrong with the economy?
Well, you know, it's interesting. In the automobile business, I'm always able to tell about 6 months ahead of time that a recession is starting, and I'm usually able to tell about 6 months ahead of time that it's ending. So I certainly got a feel for this a couple of years ago. You could sense and feel that the economy was slowing down.
What are your customers saying to you about the economy and what they wish people in Washington would be doing?
Well, that's an interesting question from a customer's perspective. They're saying create jobs. They're saying they're fed up with career politicians. They're saying that they'd like to have a businessman in Washington, a businessman, a businesswoman, a business person in Washington, D.C. that has some fiscal knowledge, some understanding of how to control these wildly overspending budgets. And I know how to do that. In the private sector, as an entrepreneur, when you set a budget, you have to have the discipline to stay within that budget. And I think we're missing that in Washington and in the United States Senate. I don't think there's the discipline that's necessary to live within our budgets. And I think I can bring a beginning to that.
What are some of your specific ideas? I mean, what would be your priorities when you first got there?
Well, creating jobs. And I'd like to share with you my idea of creating jobs. First of all, 80% of all the people employed in the United States of America, which incidentally is the greatest country in the history of mankind, 80% of the people employed today work for small businesses. So if we've identified where all the jobs are, that's where I think we start. And you include medium-sized businesses and big businesses. And here's my pet project. Here's what I will try my very best. I will, in fact, enforce. We're going to offer an incentive, a tax incentive, all the way down to Mary's Beauty Shop, Tony's Pizzeria, Harold's Accounting System, all of those small businesses, all the way up through a corporation like IBM. And we're going to say to them, for every unemployed person that you bring back, we're going to give you a $3,000 tax credit. And that's revenue neutral, because now we've created a taxpayer that eventually will far exceed the $3,000 incentive that we paid Mary's Beauty Salon to bring back this job. Then we go to creating new jobs. And we say to the same group, the small business people, medium and large, for every new job that you create, we will give you a tax incentive of $5,000. And again, it's revenue neutral. We're bringing someone new on board as a taxpayer. And eventually, it really is a plus for the government. But it incentivizes people right down to the smallest to do something about it. And if 80% of the people in the United States are employed by small businesses, none of them got TARP money, none of them got bailout money, and nor would I don't think any of them would have taken it because they're entrepreneurs. And I'd like to also tell you, and I'm very proud of it, that I'm on the board of directors of a bank in Cleveland, Ohio that did not take bailout money, is profitable, and under no circumstances would it take federal money.
Which bank?
It's called the Independence Bank.
And it's doing well, apparently? Or?
It's profitable. It has been profitable every year since 1993. It continues to grow its profits. It does not need any bailout money. It did not participate in subprime lending, refused to do that as one of the directors. I refused to allow that to happen to the bank, and the other directors certainly went along with that. We were pushed and pushed hard by the federal government for the Community Reinvestment Act, where they wanted us to make those subprime loans with no money down on houses, and we refused. And it proved to be the right decision. If the other banks would not have been as greedy, and if they embraced sound business policies, they would not have had to take bailout money.
What makes you a better choice from a Republican perspective going into the general election than your opponent in the primary?
I love that question because it shows the complete divide between he and I. My answer to that is, if we always do, and this is a business axiom, if we always do what we've always done, we're going to continue to get the same result. Now, if there are voters that are happy with what's happening in Washington and comfortable with career politicians, then perhaps my opponent's the guy. But if you want a fresh attitude and a person with a burning desire to come in and serve this great country out of a feeling of a patriotic duty, I don't need the job. The other three people running for this position are running for a job. I'm not, but I'm willing to serve my country and to, just because of how strong I am, very patriotic, and how strongly I feel about this country. I'm willing to give up 6 years of my life to serve the citizens of the state of Ohio and the United States of America.
How much do you think you're prepared to spend on this? And
well, I'm convinced that the primary is going to take $5 million.
Per candidate?
Per candidate.
Wow.
That's what it's looking like. And we're raising money. We're aggressive in doing that. But I'm also here to assure everyone that the Ganley name will be on the ballot come May when the primary comes. I'll see to that.
Can you give me just some idea where you're from, where'd you grow up,
sure.
Family?
I grew up in a small town adjacent to the city of Cleveland called Garfield Heights, Ohio. Blue collar, small homes. My wife grew up there also. I started my first business April 1st, 1968. I had 2 children at the time. I was a very young man, 23 years old, and I had some more children and needed a bigger house, so I moved to Brecksville, Ohio. I've been in the same house in Brecksville for 37 years. I have 4 children, 8 grandchildren. I've been married for 45 years.
Okay. Anything else? I mean, just for the people out there who are in my readership area who don't know anything about you, what else?
Well, I am very much against sanctuary cities. And sanctuary cities are cities in our country that are a sanctuary for these illegal immigrants. I have a very strong passion for the fact that we need to take care of the citizens of the United States, our citizens, and not take care of some other country's citizens. Right now, things are challenging for us here in America. And I say we take care of our own and we cut down on this illegal immigration. We don't just cut down, we stop it completely in its tracks and do not permit that to continue. We cannot afford to do that. We have an obligation to take care of our own citizens.
How do you stop it? What kind of policies would you support to?
Well, I would certainly support the Border Patrol. I would support enlarging the Border Patrol, giving them more authority, and doing whatever is necessary on all borders of the United States to stop the flow of illegal immigrants, and particularly to these sanctuary cities.
Okay. What about health care? What do you think about the debate going on right now about nationalized health care?
Well, it's an interesting debate. Someone, and it needs to be every senator in the United States, has to read the proposal. We're getting feedback from these various senators that are saying, well, I'm going to vote for it, but I didn't read it. And it's the same thing that happened with the TARP money, and we went too fast and we found out that doesn't work very efficiently. So we need to slow down, we need to read it very carefully, and we don't want the government to control all of our health care. We don't want that. But we need to read these proposals, we need to weigh them carefully, and while I'm on the subject, I can't stress enough that as a businessman, you would never sign a contract, in this case it's a bill, but you would never sign a contract as a businessman without reading it from cover to cover. And how our elected officials can go on national television and say that they signed it and did not read it is a travesty. And it's an abandonment of the voters, and it's an insult.